Hello everyone, my name is Aurel. I'm the director of Ancient Art Studios, a belly dance studio in Berkeley, Massachusetts. I'm a professional belly dance artist. I also study and love other art forms, but the art of belly dance has had me deeply engaged for 25 years or more. And this is Art Tributes, an interview series that has been born because we want to feature pioneering belly dancers who've impacted our art form and me and our studio. In other words, the guests are my mentors and my teachers and teachers of my teachers, or huge pivotal figures in the art in this region, which we'd call New England or the Boston area. So today's special guest is Barbara Brandt.
Also known as Bathsheba.
Bathsheba. And I am just delighted to be sitting next to her. You'll hear her truly trailblazing story today. Her professional dance career spans the most interesting 3 decades, in my opinion, of belly dance in this dance historic Boston area. Her contributions as a teacher, show producer, and leader in the dance community greatly influenced how the art was experienced and is perceived. She helped tie this art to concepts that would prove empowering to countless women who wound up dancing professionally, teaching, and also her impact on non-professionals who were simply changed by being in her classes and the lineage of classes that followed her. I'm beside myself to sit and chat with Barbara this afternoon as she taught many of my teachers. And we'll hear about this and her really interesting life shortly. But before we get to Barbara's story, I just want to be clear, 3 reasons for Art Tributes. 1, so I can learn more. I love this art form and our history and everyone who came before me, so I'm doing this to keep educating myself. Secondly, I hope that others who happen upon these interviews, be they history lovers or artists from other genres, just fellow humans, I hope people find valuable information in these truly unique artist stories. Thirdly, I'm here for the students of Ancient Art Studios. Your art, your movements, your artistic choices, or your simple enjoyment of classes and performance, these are all because of your dance foremothers and fathers. There were men who contributed to this art here. And may these interviews help you dance proudly with confidence, knowing that you're part of a rich lineage. So, now, I'd like to introduce our very special guest, Barbara Brandt. First, from my point of view. So, 25 years ago or more when I began, I was told repeatedly, long before we met, that all roads lead to Barbara. I didn't know Barbara. I didn't actually meet Barbara for 15 years after I first heard that phrase. My teacher, Lorraine LaFata, was doing a beautiful piece that involved 7 veils and how she was unwrapping symbolically different layers. It was a really powerful piece. And she talked about where she learned the art, and she said, all roads lead to Barbara. Then years later, I decided I wanted to do a really, how shall I say, open to anyone that wants to dance co-op. I wanted to have dancers performing to band, but I didn't want them to have to deal with the club environment. And I was told, oh, you're trying to do a co-op. You need to go see Barbara. So on and so forth. Many, many times I was told to go see Barbara. And it was actually a very interesting journey I had, because here I have all the documents from my first classes. I still didn't know Barbara, but I'm holding in my hand an article from Barbara Brandt, Belly Dancing and Women's Spirituality. This was given to me when I was in class. Didn't meet you. Probably wasn't astute enough when I read the word Barbara Brandt to know how important you were to my own lineage. I have a bunch of these. These are pamphlets, again, from my first dancing with the goddess dancing. Teachers and fantastic dancers like Karen Uminski, Amy Smith. These folks all influenced me greatly, and they were devotees and students and influenced by Barbara. Even the language, come join us, learn more about yourself, your body, and the dance of life. I didn't realize I was under the influence of Barbara when I was reading this. All of my first classes were beautifully eclectic, and everyone was welcome. And I didn't know belly dance was anything other than empowering and uplifting. I have document after document that show your lineage. Here's my classes I took with Lisa Tiemann. She's just nothing but uplifting and came through the lineage of Barbara. These are all my early classes. Here I study with Lorraine LaFata. She formed the Sacred Source eventually. Her classes were nothing but uplifting. Every woman was celebrated, every size, shape, and age. I didn't know anything other than belly dance existed to make us feel fantastic and empowered. Here's the New England Middle Eastern dance calendar of events. Every little clip in here I went through and found ties to Barbara in all of this. This is all my opening years of dance, and every little sticky here is because of something that to me cued a connection to you. So I'm doing all the talking, but I'll stop now. I just want to say again, if you started belly dancing in a warm, beautiful environment where everyone was celebrated, it's probably because you were in the lineage of Barbara Brandt, as we are here. Our other communities, sometimes folks come to our classes and say they ran into a really catty situation. I never knew that in my dance life. I never knew a lot of disharmony. I only knew being told by my teachers, you're just as beautiful as you, you're as special as you're as unique as you. And this was all because Barbara put this into our region. So we're going to get into that, and I'm really excited. But I wanted to introduce you from my own experience before I had finally met you. And thank you for giving me that time. Okay, all that as it is, can we dive in? Can you tell us about your beginnings, your childhood, your growing up in Brooklyn, and how that might have prepared you for what was going to happen in dance?
I would love to do that. And first of all, I want to say I might break down and cry. This is so incredible. And secondly, I never dreamed that I would reach the age of 82 and I would meet my great spiritual great-granddaughters, because I've never had a physical child. So it's quite incredible to have had spiritual daughters and spiritual granddaughters and spiritual great-granddaughters. And I want to thank Aurel for making this possible. And let's see if I have tissue buried behind me because I'm probably going to have to wipe my nose. But in answer to your question, I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1943, obviously. And I grew up in a theatrical family. My mother studied with a famous modern dancer, Martha Graham. And Martha Graham actually wanted my mother to be in her dance troupe. And my mother wanted to be a nutrition teacher, so she didn't join the dance troupe. But my mother made certain that I and my two sisters studied modern dance with a woman named Marjorie Meja, who was in Martha Graham's dance troupe. And Marjorie Meja, incidentally, was married to Woody Guthrie and was Arlo Guthrie's mother. So I have all these connections in New York City to the theatrical and the musical and the dance background. And my great aunt, my mother's aunt, had been a dance teacher and a performance creator in a settlement house in Manhattan. And she had put on many different ritual performances, like from medieval France and India, and she had all these costumes that she gave me when I was a child, and I would try on all the different costumes. And so I knew a lot about many different kinds of dancing and many different cultures, but the one I never had any connection to was Arabic or Middle Eastern. So do you want me to go on, or are you going to ask me how did I get into belly dancing? Is that the
Well,
next question?
I'm interested in another piece of
Okay.
your coming up. If you could fill us in a little bit on the socio-political environment, because the civil rights How did that come into?
Oh, well,
This
in
is a little
addition to
further
coming
on, I
from
guess.
a theatrical, musical, and dance-based family, I also had social activism in both of my mother and my father's heritages. And so I graduated from college, Brooklyn College. I majored in sociology, philosophy and sociology, which is interesting because this is the early 60s. I had majored in philosophy and sociology, which is very intellectual, not, quote, feminine. And then in 1963, at the age of 20, I went to Brandeis University, where I was studying sociology in graduate school. And the summer of 1964 was the summer that the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was holding their Mississippi Freedom Summer. And one of the members of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was actually a student at Brandeis in my department. He was the only white member of SNCC, and he had been beaten up and arrested so many times that he was taking a year off being a student of sociology at Brandeis. But he was busy promoting the upcoming Mississippi Freedom Summer, which was when they were trying to recruit all kinds of students from the North to go to Mississippi to register people to vote. Some of you may have heard about that. And I wanted to be involved. I knew that I was not emotionally mature enough to actually go down and work in the field with the Klan shooting at you and burning buildings and things like that. But I said to him, is there something I can do anyway? And he said, well, at the main SNCC headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia, they're doing research. I said, oh, that sounds like something I can do. I won't hurt anybody, I can do research. So I thought I was going down for 2 weeks. This was July of 1964. The Civil Rights Act had just been passed. I was there for 2 weeks. I said, this is wonderful. It was working in this building with young people, black and white. They had all kinds of departments. It was like behind the scenes. Mississippi was like the battleground, and this was like where people would go for rest and recreation, behind the scenes, where the newspaper was put together, where the photographs were taken, and where the contacts were made to the press and to the Northern supporters. And so I got involved first in doing research about looking at newspapers, what they were writing about in terms of what was going on there. And then, so that was 2 weeks. It was wonderful, so I stayed for 3 weeks. And then I said, gee, I guess I'll stay all summer. And then I was ready to go back to Brandeis in the fall. And I'm going to cry. They invited me to stay and be a paid staff member. And I said, this is what I really want to do. So I stayed. I'm possibly the last white person to be a paid SNCC staff person. But I stayed there basically working in Atlanta and then also in Mississippi until January of 1966. And I quickly switched after doing research to being the public relations and publicity person. And every evening I would call around to all the projects in Mississippi and I'd ask what had happened today, and they'd say, so-and-so got arrested, so-and-so got shot at, whatever. And I would type it all up. We'd put it on mimeographs, that's what we did in those days. And then I would call around or mail them out to our Northern support group, and people would contact the sheriff or whoever was messing with our people and send bail money or let them know that people were watching them. But finally, by the end of early 1966, you could tell that the black activists didn't want white people anymore, which I understood why that was fine with me, and so I came back north. For 6 months, I lived in the Lower East Side of New York City, the East Village. Interestingly enough, most of the SNCC workers who had left either moved to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco or the East Village in New York City, which, as you can see, is what became the sources of the hippie movement. But after 6 months in the Lower East Side of New York City, I decided I really wanted to come back to Boston, and the professors at Brandeis in the sociology department were secretly all activists, and they really wanted to have an activist, so they welcomed me back. But so I was dating a graduate student from Italy named Marco Montano, and he said, oh, I want to go to New York. And I said, oh, if we go to New York, there was a street in New York City, it was, I think, 9th Avenue, where all the Greek nightclubs were. And I'd never seen a live belly dancer. I said, oh, if you're going to go to New York, can we go to the Greek neighborhood and see the belly dancers? He said, sure. So in the first time in my life, in 1967, I saw a live belly dancer. And she was, cabaret style dancer. She was doing floor work up on a stage. And then at one point in the dance, she went around the tables, and there was a table of Japanese businessmen. She had rather large breasts in her bra. She came around behind them, stuck a man's head between her breasts, and went like that. And I said to myself, this is not right. What she was doing on stage, the movements were right, it's beautiful, but that's not right. And aside from that, I just said, I love what she's doing. I want to do what she's doing. I don't even know what she's doing or why, but I can do that too, and I want to become a belly dancer. So that's how so then I went back to Boston, and in the late 60s, there actually were a lot of belly dance nightclubs in the South End. Amy Smith is doing a whole project, which you probably talked about. But I didn't really know about any of them. Unfortunately, I never got to go to see any of the dancers in Boston in the nightclubs. So you sort of had to make it up. And in those days, we kind of didn't really know, it wasn't like very authentic. We didn't really have authentic connections to the Middle East. We kind of, faked it, what we thought about, maybe off of record cover albums, or we thought it was sort of the dance of the harem for the Sultan.
Can I jump in
Yes.
with a question?
Yes.
I don't want to mess with your frame of thought, but you were in Cambridge and you saw some clubs in Cambridge. I'm interested.
No, I didn't see any clubs in Cambridge.
There's no
No.
coffee house there?
No, that was after I became a dancer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the first sighting of a belly dancer was in New York.
Yes.
It wasn't Cambridge.
No, it was in
Okay.
New York.
All right. So,
And then I came back, because that's when I became Bathsheba of Brooklyn,
okay.
which you want to put Bathsheba of Brooklyn on.
Thank you. So
Yeah, because I wanted to become a belly dancer, and I really didn't have
first
any.
picture, Carmina. Yeah.
Well, that one, this is my own homemade costume. This is what we thought, belly dancers were in those days.
And is
late
this
60s.
your first dancing? Can you talk about dancing at Harvard Divinity?
Yeah, and do the next one also,
Thank you.
the black and white. Yeah. See, I was making fun of myself because I knew I didn't really know what I was doing, so I called myself Bathsheba of Brooklyn, which is very funny. And I started dancing at a place at Lowell. That means Lowell House. It's one of the Harvard houses. And this is, again, when I made my own costumes. I thought it was a bra that you maybe sewed tassels on. I didn't really know there's another one. I kind of made the costumes and got some records. And
Did your sister make one for you too?
well, yeah, but that wasn't in there.
No. Okay.
No. The thing was that, again, I faked it, but I figured these kids at Harvard don't know what it is anyway. So, we were all faking it together. And this is, if you ever heard of Professor Harvey Cox at the Harvard Divinity School, he was really into wild stuff, celebration. And so at his 40th birthday, I performed, because one of my roommates at the time was at the Harvard Divinity School. So she got me connected to him. And at the Boston Tea Party, which was the big psychedelic discotheque in those days, he had his 40th birthday party, and I came and I belly danced as part of it. And I was written up in the Boston Globe for having performed there. It says, swinging professor gets swinging party, and the circles are, my name is performing as part of that. But this was all, again, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was sort of trying to guess and fake it, and, like I said, the Bathsheba of Brooklyn,
And there was kind of a hippie liberation thread.
Well, yeah, the celebration thing. I mean, Harvey Cox was definitely part of that. But at one point, some of my friends said, you really have to see the real belly dancers. And they said, the only place I think that they knew of that was left was called the Club Khayyam.
Can you find that club?
And
Khayyam?
that's, the next picture. So I finally went to the Club Khayyam. That was, oh yeah, you got that, great. Yep, that was the Club Khayyam. It's down on Berkeley Street, a few blocks past the Common. And you can see the stage. The dressing room was up in the back. I don't know where the stairs over there somewhere.
Yeah, is that the stairs?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the stairs go up to the dressing room. The dressing room was in the back, and the dancer would come down the stairs and perform on the stage. And there's the musicians. They would sit there. So it was very respectable and very professional. And I saw, you can do the picture of Rima now. And some of the dancers, that's me. There we go. Some of the dancers, this is again late 60s, they had like bouffant hairdos and high heels, but Rima had long hair, loose hair, and she danced barefoot. I thought a hippie belly dancer. So after she got off stage, I ran over to her and I threw my arms around her and I said, I'm a belly dancer too. And she took me under her wing, and she was basically my first mentor. And she taught me a lot of the moves, and she made costumes for me. And she, at this point, she said, oh, the two of us, let's form this company and do performances. Well, I don't think we got anywhere. I don't think anyone actually hired us. But this is all Rima's artwork, and you can see that's her, and that's me, and that's her again, and that's me wearing a Arabic dress. And, but that's how I then became a professional belly dancer. And so, and then she got me to the Club Khayyam, and I became a professional belly dancer. That was like the main big fancy nightclub in Boston, and that's when I became the professional belly dancer.
Can I interrupt
Yeah.
you again? Was there a 5-part format at that point?
I think we did a 5-part routine, yeah.
Oh, right.
We did a fast, a slow with the veil, the floor work, drum solo, and the fast at the end.
Okay.
So that would be where that black and white, glamour photo of me came from.
Okay.
That's when I was, the one before. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that was me actually being a professional cabaret dancer in the early 70s.
It's beautiful. And so from Club Khayyam, did Rima help you get to
Yeah, Rima
Bishop's?
introduced me to Kasim as a male belly dancer. He drove me up to Bishop's, which was in Lawrence in those days. They had a belly dance night run by the musician Mike Sarkeesian. He introduced me to Mike. I guess I must have auditioned or something, and he hired me, and then he started his own club, and he hired me for that. So, I was doing the circuit of various professional, nightclubs around the Boston area.
His club was at the Copper.
Yeah, his was called, Mike's was the Three Copper Men.
Okay. And did they have multiple dancers in a night?
Yeah, they would always have several, 2 or 3 dancers a night. I heard that back in the old days, before I got to see them, they would even have like 7 or 8 dancers a night, but I never got to see those clubs. At the Club Khayyam, they would have 3 dancers a night, and Mike would have, I think, 2 dancers a night, or 2 or 3.
Wow. And you're learning on the job.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah, I was.
Watching.
And also from the customers, because they would get up, they would either do couple dancing, shiftatelli style, or they would do line dancing around. And, so I learned from watching the other dancers, and I learned from watching, the students, the Middle Eastern people, Arabs, Armenians, Turks, Greeks, who would get up and, the audience who would get up and dance. And again, it was my background as a dancer, and I've even said I'm a natural dancer. I have what's called synesthesia, that when I hear music, it moves certain parts of, I can't help it, I have to move certain parts of my body. Like if I hear a flute, I just, want to do that. Or if I hear a drum, I just want to do that. So, all those things together just helped me become a professional belly dancer, working in professional belly dance nightclubs the reason the book for Serena is there, because then somehow, this is still in the early 1970s, I somehow became a belly dance teacher. I became the teacher at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education, which was one of them in Harvard Square, one of the most prestigious places for teaching all kinds of things in the Boston area. And I said to myself, how can I teach belly dancing? I've never studied it. So I went down to New York for 1 week, and I studied with Serena, she was one of the early belly dance teachers in New York City, and I think her book is probably one of the first books to teach belly dancing. And I just went to every single class for a whole week, beginners, intermediates, advanced. I just went every single class that she was giving. And I figured, well, now I can teach belly dancing in Boston. And so I did. And I also started teaching some classes in Central Square, a place called the Joy of Movement Center, which is now the Dance Complex. Some of you may know that. And also at the Dance Complex, they would have all kinds of dance teachers, and they would have, at the beginning of every session, they would have a day-long presentation where all the teachers would do a little demonstration. And one of the teachers in the early 70s who was also going to teach belly dancing was Nancy Barber, or Nazreen. She had just moved from California. She had learned how to belly dance. She had actually studied. She actually had learned how to teach and do belly dancing in California, and she and her boyfriend, Don, had moved to Boston. They moved to Allston, actually. But Nancy, that's Nancy Barber. I'm actually in the black and white costume, and that's Nancy in the red.
And the next photo also is Nancy.
Yeah. Anyway, again, she was sort of like a hippie belly dancer. You could just tell. You could feel the vibrations, the difference. And I ran over to her after she did the demonstration, and I threw my arms around her. And we just became like really good friends. And Nancy was teaching. I mean, I was doing other things. I was still, I think, sort of a student, and I was still doing social activism. But she was just a belly dance teacher mostly. Oh, except that she and her boyfriend co-founded the Boston Food Co-op in Allston, near their house. But Nancy had all kinds of students, and she created dance troupes with them. Right. Anyway, so she and her students, they called themselves Boston Oriental Dancers, or BOD. And they would go out and perform everywhere, including in shopping centers. Here we are dancing at the Porter Square Shopping Center. But Nancy and her students, because Nancy and I were such good friends, we were like the two main belly dance teachers in Cambridge, really. Every time she and her students would perform, she'd always invite me. I wasn't part of her troupe, but I was like her friend, co-teacher. So, you know, that's why I'm in the one in the black and white outfit in the right there. I would always be, whenever they would perform, I would always come along and do things with them.
So you're learning to teach, you're making colleague friends, you're still learning to be a professional too?
No, I've been a professional for years now.
Okay, all right, can I back up? I have a couple questions about that.
Yeah.
All the clubs that you danced in, to give, because we don't have so many clubs now.
That's right.
So just to give us a sense of.
Yeah. Well, when I was still learning how to belly dance, I actually started in Cambridge. There were two clubs owned, well, on JFK Street, there was a basement club owned by an Italian guy named Nino, called the Harlequin.
Okay.
And Raymond Bandar who was Arabic, had just, I guess, co-owned it with him and introduced an Arabic night once a week. So I went down there in all my arrogance and said, I'm a belly dancer, I'll dance with you in your Arabic night. And this was before I, again, knew what I was doing. This is still the Bathsheba of Brooklyn days. And I started, in my fake costume, my fake dancing, I started performing. And it was actually the customers, they'd say to me, you're terrible. But they would tell me, again, because there was like these groupies who'd go around to all the belly dance nightclubs. So I learned a lot from them. And then also around the corner on Mass Avenue, facing Widener Library in Harvard, was a place called the Toga Lounge. And Charlie Kyumjin, who's a drummer, a brother of Steve and Joey Kyumjin, who were professional musicians, Charlie did a one night there, and I started performing for him. So I learned how to, basically, again, I learned from the musicians, from the dancers, from the audience. So I guess sometimes combined with that. So I danced at the Harlequin, I danced at the Toga Lounge, sort of before I was really professional.
Just a noteworthy point here.
Yeah.
Raymond
Bandar then owned the Middle East restaurant, yes, in Porter. First in
Averoff.
Central Square,
And
then he opened the Averoff in Porter Square.
Which is noteworthy because it was.
Well, later, yeah, in the late, later, in the early 70s still, Raymond owned the Averoff restaurant in Porter Square, and he made that like the main, the Khayyam had probably closed down by then. He made that the main belly dance club in the Boston area. And they had belly dances 7 nights a week there, two dances a night, I think. So after I met Rima and started performing in the club Khayyam, I was no longer Bathsheba of Brooklyn. I took myself seriously and just became Bathsheba. So the professional clubs that I worked in as Bathsheba were, again, the Club Khayyam in downtown Boston in the South End, and then Bishops of Lawrence with Mike Sarkeesian, and then 3 Copper Men in Lowell with Mike Sarkeesian. And occasionally a few other places, like I think there's a place called the Morocco in Worcester that one of the musicians drove me out to. I didn't have a car, so I couldn't go very far. I had to only go places that I could go by public transportation or commuter rail.
I just want to underscore that 3 decades of professional dancing without a car.
Well, that's the environmental activism.
That's pretty amazing. That's amazing.
So, I think
I had. Did you also dance at Julie's Casbah?
Oh, yes, that's right. Julie's Casbah was next to the Wang Center.
Okay. Averoff?
Oh, yeah. After Raymond opened the Averoff in Porter Square, I danced there often. Of course, there's more story about that with the union we'll get to. And later, when the Middle East opened down in Central Square, Cambridge, I performed there.
And then those clubs in Cambridge. There was one behind, was it the Toga Lounge?
No, we mentioned that. That
Did
was
you
the
mention
one.
that? Okay.
Yeah, that was where I was still learning.
And who played at the El Morocco?
I don't know.
Is that a Turkish?
I don't. It was so long ago. I went there once.
So did you have in your mind Greek clubs? Or,
No.
So
no, because the musicians
it was
were all
whoever the
multi.
musicians were.
Yeah, you had Greek, Armenian, Arabic. They would all be performing together, so you didn't really,
Okay, so it was all mixed.
Yeah, it was all mixed.
Okay. And can I just pick your brain a little more on what it was like to learn?
Oh, I'm sorry. Since you asked about the musicians, you'd have like an Arabic oud player. You'd always have the Arabic oud player because that's an Arabic instrument. Maybe a Greek bouzouki player or perhaps a Greek clarinet player. And then it could be Arabic or maybe Greek person playing the drums. And the two unusual instruments were Freddie Elias, who was a famous Arabic person. His sister was Rosalind Elias, an opera singer at the Met in New York. He played the violin.
Wow, I never knew that.
And the other unusual musician was named Ishber Kopercu. He was a Turkish player. He played the kanun, which is a flat stringed instrument, like 90 strings. And so he was like classically trained Turkish. But a lot of the musicians, and Armenians, I left out. Armenian drummers, and Joe Kiyumchin was Armenian. He played the oud too. Yeah, so actually, again, you'd mix up, any band would have, these Greek, Armenian, not usually Turkish, but Greek, Armenian, and Arabic playing all together. And they all knew the same songs, so, they could, as long as they knew what a 5-part routine was, and they knew a lot of different songs, and if you just say, I want a 5-part routine, they would play whatever, they wanted, and you'd go out and you dance.
And so you learned the music mostly in the clubs. You didn't have a music collection at home.
Oh, sure did. You'd buy records. They had a lot of records out.
Did you go to Acme TV?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Acme TV. Strange name.
I was wondering.
Watertown is one of the two major centers in the U.S. where the Armenian people moved, especially after the genocide of World War I, was either Watertown, Massachusetts, or Fresno, California. And so there's a big, as you may know, there's 2 Armenian churches in Watertown alone. And Acme TV was owned by an Armenian man who actually sold all the belly dance tapes, belly dance records, and probably belly dance videos when they had them.
Right.
So we would always send their students there to get the music at Acme TV.
There was no
in Watertown.
Spotify. There was no
Not in
Apple.
the 70s.
So your music was streamed to you on paper.
Yeah.
And you picked what
Yeah,
you might
and
want to
it
buy when
doesn't
you went to the
exist
back room at Acme TV?
It doesn't exist now, but it was on Mass Avenue right next to, was it the diner?
Oh, the Greek
A
diner.
Greek diner right opposite the park on Mass Avenue in Watertown, before you get to Watertown Square if you're coming from Cambridge into Watertown.
Yeah, I wondered if, you had vinyl or cassettes
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
And then you'd
Oh,
study.
and a lot of the record albums have inserts with dancers teaching you how to do the movements to the music, which I've given you, again, all my inserts.
Thank you. Wow. So was Özel Türkbas music?
Yeah, Turkish,
something?
yeah.
And so did you see her instructionals?
Sure.
The little figures and.
Yeah, well, she mostly did do the same movement for like 38 steps, and then hit your finger cymbals. It wasn't very interesting.
Okay.
But some of the more interesting dancers, other dancers had more interesting, actually, a lot of different moves in the inserts. And again, big record albums, right? So you had big inserts in the record albums.
And the musicians themselves, did they shape your show at all?
No,
they
not
didn't
really.
ever tell you what to do?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
No, the musicians would never tell you what to do. They were always very respectful. They'd say, would you like me to do this? Would you like me to do that?
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. And the 5-part show existed. Can you tell us a little bit how your show evolved, or what was in your show?
No, I think I want to get into the question of what was difficult, because that leads into
So
what evolved out of my show.
what was difficult about learning during that time? Can you also
What's
talk
difficult about
about
performing?
the costumes? Because did you make that
Yes,
skirt?
I did. Yes, I did. There was a historic, was it Windsor button shop?
Windsor Button Shop, I remember it.
Yeah, down in, right next, well, I can't even
Like
say Jordan
Filene's,
Marsh, because
yeah.
that doesn't exist either. Now it's Macy's, but downtown Crossing. There were a lot of, it was near Chinatown, there were a lot of fabrics there. The garment district and also Windsor Button Shop. So you could get all these trims and all these fabrics. So we would all make our own costumes. Yeah, so I remember when I bought that striped, I think it was white with orange and brown and green stripes.
And the skirts were,
Big full skirts.
and how did you make them?
You'd get a lot of fabric and then you'd get a waistband and you'd squinch them up around. You'd sew them or pin them to the waistband. Then you'd pin the waistband. You'd put the belt over it so no one could see that. You'd put all safety pins underneath. Oh, and then you'd pin everything to your underpants so it wouldn't move around when you danced.
And were pieces of jewelry attached
Sure,
as well?
on the bra, yeah. Or, you know, I think this one has tassels, and I probably put, like, Goodwill's Finest again, you know, you just necklaces. And I always used gold. I only had gold for my bra and belt, several different bras and belts, but I only like to use gold. And often, oh, you can see this is coins, so a lot of coins on. And the place where the coins, the reason that belly dancers had coins on their costumes is because in the Middle East, when the person would dance, people would throw coins. They dance outdoors, and the people would throw coins at them, and they might then sew the coins. I don't know how they made holes in the coins, but they would sew, because these weren't real coins, you know. But the interesting thing is that in the nightclubs often, like remember the woman in the New York place I saw, they would go around the tables and people would stuff dollar bills in their costumes, sort of like strippers. And again, I thought, this is not right. But that's why I had to learn why people wore coins on their costumes. And that was because, in fact, when the musicians played, customers would get up on the stage, they would drop dollar bills over the heads of the musicians. Oh. But they would not drop dollar bills over the heads of the dancers. They would, you know, think the dancers were supposed to go around the tables and fill them up, basically. Which I said, this is not right. Again, this is not right either. I was so drawn to the dance, and I had a feeling I wanted to do the movements, I wanted to do the dance. I didn't know what the dance really meant. I said, there's got to be something in it that is drawing me to it. Okay. And now you can ask the question about what was the difficulties, and I had two of them.
Okay, difficulties, please.
Okay, and I wrote this so well, I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
Okay. By 1970, I had become a professional belly dancer. I'm going to laugh or cry. Bedecked in revealing, glamorous outfits, I slithered and shimmied in Greek nightclubs and Arabic restaurants around New England. I especially loved the floor work, which all the professional belly dancers did in those days. The year 1970 was also the start of the modern women's liberation movement, and it was very big in the Boston area. Thousands of women were studying karate, cutting their hair short, and walking around in army boots. We won't let any men walk over us, right? So there I was, enjoying myself tremendously, wreathing around on the floor of a Greek restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts, this was the Averoff, in my stage makeup, which he knows I never wear makeup in general, in my stage makeup, glittering jewelry and skimpy costume, and these women my age with their cropped hair and army boots would walk in and look at me appalled. "What are you doing down there?" they would exclaim. "Your dance epitomizes women's subjugation to the patriarchy. You're a traitor to the revolution." Now, I knew that I wasn't a traitor. You can imagine someone looking like this and wreathing around on the floor, you know, and these women are walking with their cropped hair and their army boots, you know, and we ain't going to let no men walk over us. Okay. Okay. Now, I knew that I wasn't a traitor to the revolution. I had been a career-oriented intellectual when most women my age were afraid to assert themselves, and most women were still trying to fit into the conventional feminine roles. Not only that, but I had also attended some of the original women's liberation conferences in Boston. I'd chaired their karate demonstrations. I even co-led a workshop on women and our bodies. Nevertheless, I could understand why these women, these very militant women liberationists, or women's libbers as they were called, were responding the way they did. I wanted to say to them, believe me, I am not wreathing around in a skimpy costume in order to be seductive or subservient to men. There's some deep spiritual reason that, I'm going to cry now, that compels me to do this dance. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't feel comfortable with all the usual stereotypes of dancing for the sultan and the harem, etc. I wanted to find out what this dance was really all about. Why did we do these particular moves? What story was this dance trying to tell? Why did we wear an outfit that left the torso bare? Because most things we wore were, up to the waist, and this was from here down. Why did we isolate and roll our abdominal muscles? Why did the dance include wreathing around on the floor? I wanted to find out what this was all about. And so I began to do research, and my first clue came from the dancer Morocco, again, a dancer from New York City. And she was also she had a PhD, I think, in political science from Columbia University. She spoke 6 languages. Her name was really Carolina Vargadinicu. I think she was a Romanian gypsy background. And she, again, because she was an intellectual and interested in these things, had written an article back in the 60s for a magazine called the Journal for the Young Doctor, which said, and now I'm really going to cry, that belly dancing is actually a childbirth dance. And the way she learned about this was she was teaching belly dancing back in the 60s. And one of her students was a woman, interestingly, from Morocco. Her stage name was Morocco. I mean, the teacher was Morocco, and her student was from Morocco, just coincidentally. And the student said to her, this dance is a childbirth dance, and we call it dancing the baby into the world. And one of my relatives in Morocco is going to have a baby soon. Would you like to come with me and see how we do this? So Morocco said, oh, of course I would. And even though she spoke 6 languages, she didn't speak Arabic. So they sneaked her into the family disguised as a deaf-mute servant, so she didn't have to speak. So she hung around in the servants' quarters. And then when it came time for this woman to give birth, all the women, I guess the relatives and also the servants probably, they went to a tent because they were on the sand, probably covered over. And they all got on in a big circle around this one woman who was pregnant, getting ready to go into labor. And they all started doing these movements around her, sort of to hypnotize her, doing these various isolations. And the woman, apparently in like half an hour, popped a baby out. And then 15 minutes later, popped another baby out because she was giving birth to twins. But anyway, Morocco then saw that this was a childbirth dance and that partly the movements were being used to hypnotize the woman who was in labor to help her ease the birth. And also that the movements of the hips were to help strengthen and stretch the pelvic area. And the abdominal rolls were actually mimicking the process of labor. And the reason that and in fact, I think she may have written, or someone wrote, that this dance, that we call belly dancing, went back, there are written reports from ancient Rome 2,000 years ago of dancers doing this dance, where they too would sink down to their knees on the floor and would, roll around and roll their bellies. So, this dance goes way, way back with those movements. And I was amazed when I suddenly got the connection with these movements and the childbirth, even though I myself had never had a physical baby and actually didn't want to get married or have children. But I was so taken by this that I then immediately started teaching my belly dance students that this was what the dance was really all about. And I would say to them, again, it's a beautiful, sensual dance that uses all these different parts of your body and isolates the breast and it isolates the hips and the pelvis, which are clearly, women's sexual parts of their bodies. And you can do anything you want with it, but to me it's a dance of empowering us to take back our bodies. You can dance for yourself, you can dance for your children, for your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, your lady friends. You can do whatever you want with this dance, but it's a dance for you to reclaim your body and love yourself and who you are, and even these very vulnerable parts that many other parts of our culture suppress or tell us are evil or should only be done to please men. And the other insight that I got when I would be explaining to people, I said, this dance goes back thousands of years when women were more honored before the patriarchy came in. And it's and back in those days, this was a dance of empowerment for women because women were honored as the creators of life. In fact, sometimes people maybe didn't even know where babies came from. They just knew women gave birth to them. So they really honored women as the creators of life. So women were doing this dance, you know, to get ready for childbirth, to give birth to life. And I said the parallel is, if you think of it, so it was a sacred dance that women were doing. And if you think about it, the parallel is that in America, before the white people, before the Europeans came, the Native American tribes had their own religious sacred dances like the corn dance or the rain dance, which they would do, you know, as ritual religious sacred dances. And then when the white people came and conquered the Indians and put them on reservations, they'd say, oh, do that dance to entertain us. So what had once been a sacred dance became a dance of entertainment for the conqueror. So I said, likewise, this dance of women's empowerment and women's beauty and honoring women, after the patriarchy took over, dance became a dance of entertainment for those in power. And I said, now we are reclaiming this dance for us. And again, you know, the whole ethos of the 60s and liberation. So after that happened, after I began putting it together, I could then go to the women's liberation people and say, no, this is a dance of women's liberation, women's empowerment. So then I started going to women's liberation fairs and presenting this. And some of my students, one of my students was a young woman named Gigi Devitt, and she belonged to an organization called Birthday, which taught women how to do home births. And she and I put a presentation together because she said, oh yeah, of course, all the movements that you do, they're all the things we teach women to do, you know, to get ready for birth. So we put this workshop together. Then we went around to women's liberation fairs. And like one woman would, you know, recite a poem, and I plunged my hand into my menstrual blood and I raised it to the sky. And another woman would sing, hooray, I'm a lesbian. And then Gigi and I would go up and do our workshop, and the way we did it was, I'd be wearing my long Arabic dress. Oh, the one you saw, in fact, in the Rima poster. And Gigi would give the whole, because she was, you know, the childbirth teacher, right? So she would give a whole presentation about how she'd teach people to get ready for childbirth, and I would demonstrate the moves in my long dress. And then I would take off the dress, I'd be in my belly dance costume, and I would do a belly dance performance. And women in the audience saw it with new eyes, and after it, women would come up to me with tears in their eyes saying that they had seen, you know. So it was just very moving. The whole thing was, it was a gift to me. It was just such a gift to me to experience this and share this with people.
So you have the professional career as a performer, but then you're really moved to help your students and help the region see the dance through different eyes.
Right.
And if you had to weigh them on the scale, which one is more weighty?
I wouldn't weight anything. I don't make that kind of a judgment.
They're both just...
No, nothing like that. But the other thing was, in the 1970s, I think it was because partly combined with the environmental movement and women's liberation, all of a sudden, belly dancing was this major fad, probably all around America, certainly in Boston. Every woman and her sister was studying belly dancing. This was while I was teaching and being, you know, the professional nightclub performer. And again, teaching belly dancing women and childbirth. And everyone was taking belly dancing all of a sudden. Every town had a belly dance teacher. Cambridge must have had 5 or 6 belly dance teachers. I was teaching in Cambridge Center. Nancy Barber was at the Joy of Movement Center. Adana had her own studio. They had belly dance classes at the Cambridge Y in Central Square. I mean, it was just incredible. There were teachers in Boston, all over the place. There were hundreds, thousands of belly dance students all around the Boston area, and like maybe 30 or 40 belly dance teachers. So, and all these belly dance nightclubs all over the place. So we decided, oh, and a lot of the belly dance nightclubs didn't treat us very well either, because they were still thinking, oh, you're just these sexy entertainers. They wanted us to go around and get tips, or we didn't have dressing rooms. I mean, when I worked in the Club Cayenne, I only got paid $10 a night, which even in those days is pretty low. So a bunch of us said, let's form a belly dancers union, and with all the teachers, and we will, and the performers and the teachers, and we will work with the club owners to get better working conditions and higher pay. So we had some, and it wasn't my idea. I mean, I just was, even though I was an activist, that wasn't my idea to form the union. But I went, like, many other people, and maybe we had 20 or 30 people as just teachers and performers at this meeting to form the union. And we made a list of all the different nightclubs in the Boston area. And we rated every one, and we said what the problems were with each one, and we definitely rated and wrote all the problems with the Averoff in Porter Square that Raymond Bandar owned. And somebody finked on us to Raymond. Raymond found out that, and of course, some of these men can be very, I won't have anyone insult me. How dare you? So, because he knew that I had a background as a social activist, he thought that I had organized the union. So Raymond, even though I'd been performing there often, Raymond said to me, "You will never dance on my stage again." And I felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me because, by that time, I lived right in Porter Square. I could just literally walk to the Averoff. And not having a car, that was very convenient. And all of a sudden, I had no place to dance. And then after a few months, I said, wait a minute, I've been to enough clubs, plus I have enough experience being an organizer. I'll form my own belly dance nightclub, Bathsheba's Cafe. And do we have a flyer for Bathsheba's Cafe?
Yeah, I think we do.
Oh, I thought, I maybe didn't bring it. I guess I didn't. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, so it was once a week. I rented a room at the Cambridge, at the dance complex in Central Square, and I hired a band of 4 musicians, and I'd have 3 belly dancers a night, and I had little cards and we had like 150 people would come every night, and I had little cards on the table saying, what is belly dancing? It's a dance of childbirth. And in between the performers, I would teach people how to do the folk dancing, the line dances, and a lot of the customers knew how to do the line dances. And so we do that. We do line dances a lot, and we do, the shiftatelli, the couple dance, and then we'd have the 3 performers. And whenever the performers came on, I would put little ropes up around the tables so the audience knew not to get up, because I didn't want the dancers to have to go around and think people had to stuff money in their costumes.
So Bathsheba's Cafe was your answer.
Yeah.
To a lot of things.
To a lot of things. And that went on for a year and a half, and then it was like 74 and 75. And then in 75, the movie Saturday Night Fever came on, and I said, uh-oh, disco's going to be the next new thing. Belly dancing is going to go like that, and disco's going to be the next new thing. And sure enough, it was. And so then that was kind of basically the end of the big belly dance boom of the early 70s. And more or less mostly the end of my career, because then I went on to doing other activist things, environmental things, and solar energy, things like that.
So, I'd asked you to weigh your performance versus the birthing messaging that you brought in.
I loved them all. I loved them all.
I think what I'm trying to ask you is, as you reflected once to me about your contributions, Bathsheba's Cafe, the birthing piece, and the goddess dancing messaging,
which not till the 90s,
came up more quickly when you spoke about.
Well, no, just because you asked me what I was proudest of, but not what I enjoyed the most.
Oh.
I wouldn't say I was proud of being a nightclub entertainer, but I sure as heck enjoyed it.
Oh, okay. I see the differentiation.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to bring out an interesting little detail that you put velvet ropes around the dancers.
Well, not velvet ropes, just
a velvet. What was it?
Well, ropes. Real ropes.
Did you get that idea of separating the dancers nicely from Club Cayenne?
No, I got that from me.
That was just you.
Yeah.
You were like, I want a proper space for the dancers.
Yeah, because during the meantime, the audience would get up and be dancing on that same dance floor. See, in the Club Cayenne, as you saw from that picture, it had tiered stairs, and the audience would sit up on the staircase, the higher chairs, and then the dancer would be on a stage, with like a little. Yeah, with a little fence. You can see a little fence around it. So obviously, when the dancer performs, you don't get up on the stage, and the dancer doesn't go off and dance around the audience. So, in a way, I was creating that on a flat surface.
Okay.
So the audience knew, okay, now you sit down, you watch the dancer respectfully. This is not stripping, this is not sticking your hand on people's bodies. It's watching a dance of childbirth from the ancient times when women were honored, their bodies were honored.
Beautiful. And then who were the musicians that played at Bathsheba's Cafe? Was it the same band?
George Stringos and Leon Phaedra's boyfriend, Leon.
Manoogian.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, wow.
And I think Dick Payruti, I think the oud player, and I don't remember, there were, oh no, Joe Zaytunian played the oud. He was an Armenian oud player. And George Stringos must have played bouzouki because he was Greek.
And the dancers were doing a 5-part show. How many dancers?
3 dancers a night.
3 a night.
Yeah.
Everyone do floor work?
Sure.
Everyone play finger cymbals?
Yeah.
Did they play the finger cymbals during the veil?
I don't remember.
Okay. Fair
Some
enough.
perhaps did, some perhaps didn't.
Did you?
No, I had to take them off. I wasn't going to be doing, because veil work is very, flowy, so I wasn't going to have these clunky things on my
Okay,
hands
okay.
when I did the veil work.
So did you dance at Bathsheba's Cafe?
A few times.
Okay.
But I didn't want to monopolize it. I mean, for all these other people to dance
Oh, that was
and be treated nicely and respectfully.
generous of you.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Show
the whole
production
point
is
was,
a lot of work.
Say what?
That's a lot of work to produce a show, and you.
No, it wasn't at all.
It wasn't?
No. The dancers knew how to dance, and the musicians knew how to play the music. Okay. And the dancers brought their own costumes and
How
set
did
to
you
the music.
did you sell tickets? How did that work?
No, they paid $2 admission.
At the door.
Yeah. It was in the top floor of the dance complex, and my boyfriend and I of the time made food. We sold food.
Oh.
Yeah, Arabic. We went to Armenia, to Watertown, Little Armenia, and we bought hummus and baba, whatever,
Okay.
pita bread, and stuff like that, grape leaves. No, it didn't take, no, there was nothing. There was no work at all involved.
Okay.
No.
Wow.
I didn't put on a show. The dancers and the musicians, they were all professionals. They knew what to do.
Well, we need
They were just
more.
doing
We
it in
need
my
more show
nightclub.
production now. Can you do a few more Bathsheba's Cafes? If it's no work, come on now.
Well, you give me a professional band who's used to working with professional belly dancers and professional belly dancers. I don't have to do it. You just give them the
Yeah,
stage
I
and
see.
they'll do
Yeah,
it themselves.
I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, and the other thing was, at the end of after every dancer ended up, I would run up to her with a bouquet of flowers and hug her and give her a bouquet of flowers.
Oh.
Because I wanted them all to know that I honored them and that give them all a chance to dance in a place where they were honored and respected. Okay. Even if in all the other nightclubs, perhaps they weren't respected in the same way.
Beautiful.
That's why I danced very rarely. Because, I had had a lot of experience performing before.
Right.
So I didn't need it.
Okay. Wow. That was quite a gift.
Yeah.
Then you took a little break. We're in the 80s now, I think.
Well, yeah.
And you went off and
80s
did
and 90s.
incredible work with solar.
Yeah, yeah.
But you were still dancing in a greenhouse? What does this mean?
No. Well, I actually belly danced in a solar greenhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I would belly dance for my friends in the Solar Energy Association.
So you're working in the solar energy and they just get the bonus of belly dance shows occasionally? Yes. Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. And then what happens in the 90s?
Well, in the late 1990s, this whole new bunch of research came out about when God was a woman. Because up until then, they only knew that there had been ancient matriarchal cultures and that belly dancing was a childbirth dance, which we had affirmed from a lot of different childbirth teachers, who I met. But by the late 1980s, a whole new bunch of research had come out about the goddess religions that before there were male gods, which we all know what religions those were, people honored the female goddess as the great creator. So I said, wow, this is like a new connection. This is not simply childbirth dancing, this is like goddess dancing. So I then started teaching classes. I said, I'm going to teach classes in belly dancing and women's spirituality with this whole new approach of belly dancing and women's spirituality. So you can find that flyer now of the yellow flyer. Yeah. So that started in 1991, and I started teaching them in Cambridge. And what's so interesting to me about that is that every time I taught, even back in the 70s, I would always, because I wanted to build a community, among all my students and help them to feel that, I wasn't just a teacher and you're the students, but we're all in this together. So I would always start by we'd all sit in a circle and I would say to them, why are you taking belly dancing? And usually in the 70s, the women would always say, I always wanted to study belly dancing. When I started teaching the belly dancing women's spirituality in the 1990s, and I would ask them, why are you taking belly dancing? A lot of them would say, I never wanted to take belly dancing because I thought it was this sleazy kind of dance. But when I saw this, I'm going to cry again, when I saw this new heading called Belly Dancing and Women's Spirituality, I had to find out what this was. And people like Lorraine LaFata, that's the kind of thing that they would say. So again, it was this great gift. And what I would say to them, I would explain the whole background, the childbirth, and the great goddess, and the goddess giving birth to the world. And one of the handouts that I gave you, there was this one book called the Women's Dictionary, Sacred Symbols and Signs. I connected every single thing we did in belly dancing. The veil, the finger symbols, the movements, the shapes, snakes, I mean, you name it, to goddess symbology. And you have the handout. It's one of the things I gave you. So I gave that out to my students, and I said to them, what I'm teaching, I mean, I taught the same moves as belly dancing, but I said, I'm not exactly teaching belly dancing. I'm teaching, I guess, something different. I guess you could call it goddess dancing. So everyone loved that, and after a while, this one group of us, 9 women, we decided to form a troupe, a performance troupe called The Goddess Dancing. You can go back to the whole display there. And the white and purple one. Yeah. So this is the first time, this I think was probably in 1994. This is the first performance of the troupe, The Goddess Dancing. And after that, in 1995, again, being an activist, I had written a book about alternative economics, and I had to go around and give lectures about alternative economics and community-based and sustainable feminist and environmental economics. So I stopped teaching, but my students taught, and Aurel studied with a lot of these women,
Yes.
Lorena and Lisa.
Yes.
Yeah, so again, those are my spiritual granddaughters, and she studied with them, so she's my spiritual daughters. So she's my spiritual granddaughter, and you guys are my spiritual granddaughters.
Right.
Anyway, so they formed a teaching and performing collective called The Goddess Dancing. So this was actually after I had left and was no longer teaching. They then became not only were they performing, but they created the teaching collective that went on for many years after me, and that's how you connected to them.
That is how I connected to
Yeah.
them. They would teach as a team, so they knew the curriculum and the sacred shapes.
Yeah.
And you might have one week, my first week was Karen Uminsky, and my second week was Lisa Tiemann. I'll never forget each one of them because they just brought an energy to the room, and their movements were so imbued with meaning. Everything was full of symbolism. Everything was, and the room had every age, size, and shape. And I had taken classical dance, so when I ran into this, where everyone was celebrated, and
Yeah.
it was arresting to be in a dance environment where everyone belonged.
Yeah, that was one of the things I loved about the dance, that no matter one's size or shape or age or whatever, you could do these movements and you could do this dance.
And the Goddess Dancing dancers I still run into them.
I don't think the collective exists
No,
anymore.
yeah, but Lorraine LaFata.
Yeah. She's the lower right hand.
Yeah, I ended up.
Sort of the white face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Studying with her, Karen Uminsky, Lisa Tiemann, on and on. And the number of people that group reached,
Yeah.
and it's unbelievable. At that time, just a quick personal moment, I was working with body image in my personal life, and my counselor said, your belly dancing is doing more for you than this counseling. That was because of you and what you had brought to the room. Unbelievable. When many people were teaching belly dance as a make your husband a sultan thing, belly dance was a fitness thing, belly dance was a, exotic Orientalism thing, and you just completely changed the room.
Yeah. The approach that I taught and that they carried on. Yeah.
Yeah. So your 70s teaching was connecting birthing, and
Yeah.
your 90s teaching was connecting goddess.
Yeah.
Trailblazer. And you taught all manner of people that taught us. Yeah. Shadia was a student of yours.
Well, Shadia was, actually I was also, in my social activism side in the 1970s, I was working for the Somerville Community Schools program. And I was teaching classes in the senior center in Somerville in Union Square. Oh, and actually talking about all shapes and sizes. There was an article written about my classes in the Boston Herald, and he said, Barbara, the teacher, says, girls, this is a great way for you to lose weight. Of course, I never said that, but that's what they thought in those days. But at least the class was, advertised in the newspaper, so people came from all over besides Somerville. And Shadia had heard about my class, and she came. So she honors me as her first teacher, although I honor her now as my teacher, because she's really one of the truly authentic professional teachers in the area. And she also made this beautiful costume here.
Maybe,
For me, which
Carmina,
I'm
can you
passing
bring
on
that,
to you.
please?
And then the other person who came to my classes was Zabeth, who was another famous professional dancer. Oh, you don't have to hold this up. This is, Shadia made this for me. But it's for you.
Gorgeous.
It'll be available here in your boutique.
This belongs in our museum of
Wherever you
our
want to put it.
regional history because Shadia became a anchor and a pillar in our community.
Yeah, she's amazing.
As an artist,
Yeah, I
as
totally
a
honor
teacher,
her.
as
I
a
totally honor her.
customer.
Yeah.
And you're connected to her.
No,
And
she's
we're
a dear
connected to
friend,
her.
still a dear friend. But Zabeth.
And Zabeth.
Yeah, Zabeth had been a professional dancer before. Again, this was back in the late 60s. The nightclub scene. She was into the nightclub scene. She really was. And then I guess she got married, and her husband said, you can't dance anymore. You can't do that. So she was afraid to dance, and she couldn't perform. And then she heard about my classes at the senior center in Somerville, and she came, and I apparently gave her the courage to go back and be a professional performer.
And her career was
Yeah, she went off. And
decades,
decades
long. And Lorena also had a very long, beautiful performance career and teaching career.
Sure.
Connected with Delilah of Seattle.
Oh, yeah, she brought Delilah over.
They had retreats where you'd go to Hawaii to study belly dance.
Oh, wow.
What have you done? Amazing. So I think we have a beautiful picture of your time, but there's a few pictures we didn't look at.
Okay.
And I wonder if you can
Show us
fill
those
us
two then.
in. Liz, we didn't do the red gals.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, let's do
Oh, yeah,
that
thank
one.
you,
That one
Carmina.
there. Let's see, what's that?
What's that?
Oh, I'm just performing at another nightclub. Oh, no, that's Club Cairo. Oh,
Okay.
I'm performing at Club Nancy
So we
Barber.
didn't talk about Club Cairo.
Yeah, Nancy, in the 80s,
Okay.
Nancy Barber, and I bet you these are the same earrings. Nancy Barber and her students created their own belly dance club, again in the same place, the top floor of the dance complex. And I wonder if that's Nick Sommer playing the oud. I can't remember. I can't see who that is for sure.
Okay.
But that's me dancing in the 80s at Club Cairo. Because I recognize that banner up there says
Okay.
Club Cairo.
I got this photo from Amy Smith, who is doing
okay.
incredible research on our region and the history. Her
Yeah.
Flaming Cheese Productions you should follow. So
I had that picture also, but I didn't give it to you, so I'm glad you had it.
okay,
anyway.
well I
Yeah, no, I'm
snuck
glad you
around
put
and
it up
got it.
there.
And did you make this costume? Do you remember?
Yeah, because I remember again that skirt. I bought that fabric, and I think you can see the, just a brassiere with a halter top, and I sewed the coins on and hung the necklaces and.
Did you make your veils too?
Well, you just take a piece of fabric and hem the edges.
Okay.
I guess I sewed gold strips down the two sides.
That was nice, yeah.
Yeah. Now what's this next one?
Ooh.
Oh, that's me. I mean, again, I think performing at Club. Oh, those you got from Amy. Yeah, performing at Club Cairo.
Okay. So Club Cairo is yet another wonderful chapter. You and Nancy, who had started the food co-op.
Yeah.
So she also knew organizing and
Exactly.
activism.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what was the genesis for this? This was a
They
second.
wanted to. Well, again, because there weren't that many clubs anymore.
So clubs are coming down.
Yeah.
And so you both, and she'd been.
No, I had nothing to do with creating this. I was busy being a solar energy activist.
Oh, okay, so
in the
she
80s.
created it.
Yeah, Nancy and her students, because she had all these students who were performing, and she wanted a place for them to perform.
And it was a little like Bathsheba's Cafe
Well,
in that it
it's-
was dancer run.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you performed there. And people came from all over to perform there.
Sure. Yeah.
Amina
And to see
Delal
it.
was telling me.
Oh, and that's Nick Samra, and there's Steve Kim. I think this is the Middle East restaurant in Central
Okay.
Square. Yeah, that's Nick Samra, the oud player.
So is this the Middle East in the back room?
No, this is on the I think the corner.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the very first musician I ever worked with in the Harlequin, when they brought
Cambridge.
the Arabic into the Harlequin in Harvard Square. He played the oud, and his cousin Michael played the drums. But this is Steve Kumjan, one of the most famous Armenian drum players.
And his Joey still plays.
Yeah, his brother Joey was an
Joey
oud
plays
player,
the
yeah.
oud still. And where did you get zills at that point? Oh,
Probably from Acme TV, I guess.
Acme TV
Yeah, I
carried
think
zills.
so.
Wow.
Let's see, I'm sure that looks like a costume I made because it looks like just bra and, sewing coins on and hanging necklaces. And oh yeah, I know that I made that because I recognized the gold trim that I sewed on the bottom of the skirt.
Okay.
And
Is the
fabric.
jacket?
It's just sleeves, and I forget how I attached it. I maybe I just pinned it, just two pieces hanging down that I pinned to the bra straps.
Awesome. Beautiful. And you're on a little bitty stage.
Yeah, if you've been there, they have a little bitty stage in the window. I have to
Okay.
tell you one story.
Please.
Again, when I would perform at the Middle East, you could go around the tables, but I didn't want anyone to stick money in my costume. So when I would perform, the people would come up and they'd throw the dollar bills on the floor. And one wintry night, and I had a lovely boyfriend then, Walter. So one wintry night I'm performing and the floor is all covered with dollar bills. And the sort of drunk guy walks in from the door's right there. He walks in, he sees the floor all covered with dollar bills. He goes, and he starts grabbing up the dollar bills. Because what happens is if the dancer dances and people throw money over her head, you leave it on the floor, then she leaves the stage when she's finished, and then someone like her boyfriend will go and pick the money up afterwards. So sure enough, so the money was lying all over the floor, and I'm performing, and this drunk guy walks in and starts grabbing all the dollar bills. But my boyfriend quickly went up to him and said, I guess sort of pushed him out into the cold again.
Wow.
Let's see what else. What this is, I created this dance called the Dance of the Goddess Giving Birth to the World. It's more like an impressionistic dance. It's not a cabaret performance. Where I started, and this was, in the goddess dancing when they would put on shows.
90s.
I created this, yeah. So it would start out, she's all covered up with the veil lying flat on the ground, and then she, slowly emerges, and then she comes out. And I guess you can see the next picture also. Yeah, and giving birth, right there, she's giving birth. And then she gives something, the world to the world. Okay, and then what else? Let's see, what's the next picture?
Oh, these are...
Oh, and then this is, again, women in my goddess dancing classes. That's Lorena. We did jams out by the Charles River near Harvard Square every Sunday. And so you can see we have people with, one of the women had some little girls. It was wonderful. We just have all this fun performing on the banks of the Charles River, and people would come by, and photographers would come by. So you can see, sometimes we're wearing sort of our belly dance club costumes, and sometimes more folky, just sort of casual tops and skirts. This woman is from Brazil. Her name is Najmat. She's a gorgeous dancer. There again, there's Lorena.
So there's Lorraine, who was one of my first teachers,
Yeah.
and Najmat was a colleague who's now moved away, who we loved.
Oh,
her
and I have to
dancing.
tell you, see the man with the shorts and the mustache sitting in the back there?
Yes.
That's my gynecologist.
Okay.
He loved to go to dance free, where people would dance barefoot free. So he was really into dancing, so he wandered around one day and showed up. But he was, in his real life, he was a gynecologist.
Is his last name Levine?
Yeah, Mitch Levine. Yeah.
Okay, he's mine too. Okay. Okay, we have to talk later.
Now that's Nancy Barber also in a glamour costume. That's Nancy Barber, right? She did not make that costume. I tell you, she did not make that costume.
Okay, so
No, she
by
did not
now
make
the
that.
costume industry is coming in and people are buying
No,
costumes.
she might have been made by a professional costumer.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that may well have been made because she looks very young there. So that was probably made by someone, but she did not make that costume. I tell you.
Okay.
No.
So there were local people making costumes like Shadia,
Sure,
and
yeah.
then eventually costumes were being imported
Yeah.
from Egypt.
Yeah.
So this is Nasreen, Nancy Barber, your dear colleague.
yeah.
You and she, well, you danced at her co-op
That's right.
that she
And we
created,
put
Club
on
Cairo.
all kinds of various things together, like performing at Porter Square and just different events we kind of put
Right.
on together.
And she came from California and
Yeah.
influenced you with her training. This picture is by Michael Baxter. Amy Smith was
Oh, that's
creating a
nice.
shoot that was all about the legends. And can you tell us about it?
No, I don't remember anything about it.
Okay. Well, you're holding a picture of your...
Well, that's the only thing I said,
Nasreen.
that Nancy had moved to Florida, so she had me hold the picture of Nancy.
Oh, okay.
Because she wasn't here in Boston.
So you're representing your friend and
Yeah.
influencer.
That's right.
And the founder of Club Cairo,
Cairo, yeah.
with Bathsheba's Cafe
Yeah,
founder.
yeah.
It's a beautiful picture. And thank you to Amy Smith of Flaming Cheese Productions again, who let us use the photo and does a lot of research. So as we're wrapping up, I'm going to hit you with a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
In our studio, we do some different things that I feel are due to your influence. So I want you to tell me, yes, is this you, or no? Okay. Starting classes in a circle to connect the group like sacred dances in ancient times.
Yes.
Teaching belly dance through shapes and planes imbued with meaning.
I guess you could say so.
Okay. Team teaching by a diverse group who shares the curriculum and the goal of uplifting the dancers in each class and lovingly reacts to everything that happens.
Well, everything after team teaching. I never did team teaching.
Okay, so in the goddess dancing, when I had different teachers each week, we're kind of doing that here. Are we in the
No, I
in the
only taught
footsteps?
myself as the only teacher.
Okay. So did you encourage the goddess dancing
No,
to do
I
that?
had nothing to do with how they taught.
Okay. So that was a goddess dancing
That was
thing.
their own thing, yeah.
Okay, we got to know. Encouraging the power-filled act of adorning yourself.
Sure.
She'll give us a yes. Allowing spiritual, meditational, joyful moments into our dancing.
Absolutely.
Cool. It's just really meaningful to know we're connected to you. Thank you so much. You've changed so many lives. It's unquantifiable. And to have you here has been something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it means a lot. Thank you for coming.
It is an honor that you would do this. It's just lovely and wonderful. I mean, thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Brandt, everybody.
But did anyone have any questions?
Yeah, do we have time for questions, and how should we do this? I guess shoot
Or
hands
comments
up.
or something?
Shoot your hand up if you have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, Alicia again.
Yeah.
So you talked about your mentor, Rima.
Uh-huh.
Do you know where Rima learned belly dancing from?
She learned from some man, Stanley something or other. A lot of women in those days actually learned belly dancing from men, and I don't remember if he was Arabic or not. I can't tell you more than that. No, it's the best I know. Nothing else. Peaches. Oh, okay, yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. Thank you again. It's so great to meet you.
Oh, thank you.
My question is, some of these clubs that you mentioned, like Club Kaim and others, what was an audition like?
I don't know if they had auditions.
No?
They may have, I think what it was, the way they did it, I don't even think I auditioned at Club Kayam. I think Rima simply said, here's my friend Barbara, she's a dancer, you should hire her.
Sure.
And I think sometimes that's how they did it. In other places, maybe, I think like for Mike Sarkeesian at Bishop's, you'd come in your street clothes and you'd dance to the musicians in your street clothes, and they could see if you could dance or not. I mean, it was very wild and woolly in the 70s, believe me. Like anything went in those days. Yeah, Peaches.
So were you involved with the Boston Women's Health Collective?
Well, they were at a conference. They did the first workshop. This would have been like 69 or something, Women and Their Bodies, before they even started the book, Our Bodies, Ourselves. And I went to that first workshop with them because I was interested in women and our bodies, but I didn't know they were just going to spin off and become a health-oriented collective. So
Yeah, I know Miriam Hawley. She's a friend of mine.
she studied with me.
What?
Yeah, when I taught belly dancing at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education.
I just texted before to ask her son because she's one of the writers of Our Bodies.
Nancy Hawley.
Sorry, marrying Nancy. Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I knew it was Nancy Hawley.
That's wild. She's in Cambridge. She still lives in Cambridge.
Uh-huh.
That's
Cool.
great.
Yeah.
There's so much. You've got so much knowledge about everything. It's just a font, you know. Unbelievable.
I've
Oh,
got
yeah.
more.
Sure. Oh, please go ahead.
My next question is, you have seen belly dance go through decades.
Uh-huh.
Have you picked up on like any notable trends in any of those decades, and can you make any predictions about where belly dance is going from here?
I don't think I can make any predictions, but definitely the difference I've seen is like in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, again, we weren't really into authentic like Middle Eastern styles of dance. It was more like anything goes, what you might call Orientalism, thinking this is some exotic dance from the exotic Middle East. So, you know, you could do cabaret style. It could be sort of anything. There was Turkish influence. I mean, there was all kinds of things. Now I'm, you know, and people will do veils, finger cymbals, and floor work. And now I'm seeing only mostly the Egyptian style, which to me is very restricted. And I don't think they even use zills. They don't use veils. I don't know if they even do floor work. And to me, I don't find it enjoyable to watch anymore. As to predictions, I mean, the other thing is I've seen, you know, the decline of clubs. Because I think a lot of the musicians I worked with, they weren't even professionals. They were people who'd learned it as a folk art, playing their instruments. And they didn't reproduce themselves in second generation. However, I've noticed that at Berklee School of Music now, they're teaching Middle Eastern music as part of the curriculum. So I don't know if there might be some call for belly dancing or Middle Eastern dancing to come back. But again, you know, the clubs no longer exist. The musicians are not reproducing themselves through their family. So, you know, I'm lucky I was there when I was there at, you know, a really peak time, and I was able to get the benefit of it. Oh, I'm so grateful. Any other questions?
Oh.
Sure. Yeah.
Where does the name Bathsheba come from? Or did you just...
Because I'm of Jewish background, and my parents were atheists, and so the Jewish people often get a Hebrew name. But I didn't get a Hebrew name. And when I decided to become a belly dancer, I said, oh, well, why don't I pick a Hebrew name? And also, I've always loved guys named David. So, you know, David and Bathsheba from the Bible. So I said, oh, and Bathsheba sounds a lot like Barbara. But what I didn't know at the time, I found out later, that Bathsheba means the daughter of the seven. And we have the seven chakras and the seven veils. So once again, I was being guided spiritually to connect to, you know, a higher source of wisdom and guidance, even when I chose my name.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So this isn't related to belly dancing really, but you talked about a little bit about your activism.
Yeah.
Was there any one issue that you were like most passionate about that you did a lot of work with, or did you do a lot of different?
I've done a lot of different kinds of activism, again, kind of through the decades as certain issues came to the fore. The issue, you know, as you said, civil rights in the 60s, environmentalism in the 70s and 80s. In the 90s, I was involved in the shorter work time movement. We realized that in America, people work the longest hours of all modern nations. So I was involved in that. And the movement I'm involved in now, I'm going to do my little PR campaign here. The movement that I'm involved in now is called the Poor People's Campaign, because there's, it's not appreciated that there are millions and millions of poor people in America. And I think that's one reason why a lot of people voted for our current president, because he said, I'm going to solve all your problems. And the Democrats, who should have been aware of that issue, were told by their consultants that they should not mention poverty in America. So the Poor People's Campaign is, the current one is co-founded by a black minister, Reverend William Barber from North Carolina, and a white Episcopalian woman minister, Lucio Harris, back in 2017. I'm with the Massachusetts branch of it. And Martin Luther King was doing a Poor People's Campaign when he was assassinated in 1968. So they've revitalized it. And so that's the issue that I'm giving my activism to now. Thank you for asking. Oh, yeah, sure.
I have some more.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, at some of these clubs that you mentioned, you said that there could be like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dancers in like a night or a week.
No, in a night.
That's wild to think
I
about
never
that.
went to the ones where they had them. I just heard about the ones where they had like 7 dancers a night. But the ones I performed in would have like up to 3 dancers a night.
Okay, I think that my question still stands.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm curious to know, how did dancers work together in an evening like that?
They didn't. You just, again, like I said, you go up to them, the club owner said, you're going to dance at 10, you're going to dance at 11, you're going to dance at 12, right? And then you'd go up to the band just before in your street clothes, before your performance, and say, do a 5-part routine, or they might say, do you like a certain song? You'd say, I'll play this song, or whatever. You'd go and change, and then you'd come out, they'd play the song, and you'd dance. Yeah.
Must have been a fun dressing room.
Well, the only place
that
that, well, oh no, actually the Alvaroth had dressing rooms. And of course the Club Cayenne did. I forget where we changed in Bishops. But a lot of places didn't have dressing rooms.
Sure.
You just kind of, like in the Middle East, you just change in the bathroom.
I have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I'll sit back. I guess this one's sort of a loaded question. Did the band enjoy playing for the dancers?
Oh, absolutely.
That's great.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It was a very nice partnership that you felt with the musicians. Yeah, they wanted to make you look good. I mean, that's why they'd always find out, like, what is there any particular music you want? If there's something you want, or I'd like to play this. Would you like it? Oh yeah, it was very nice, a collaboration. I mean, I think that was one of the nicest parts of it, was the collaboration between the dancers and the musicians. I couldn't say the same about the club owners. They just were trying to, put glamorous-looking, sexy women on and make money off of them. But it was the musicians who really appreciated the dancers. And in fact, a lot of dancers married musicians. There were a lot of couples of dancers and musicians, like Steve Kumjian married Amber, and there's others too. Yeah, Peaches.
I'm noticing with my mom, who's 92, that she's very healthy.
Uh-huh.
And I think that having been a dancer
Yeah.
really lent itself to that.
I'm sure of that,
I
yeah.
was going to ask you too, do you feel like your aging process is different because you were a dancer?
I'm sure that's true, yeah. But also because my mother was a nutrition teacher. And she had us as children eating wheat germ, yogurt, liver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Question.
Sure.
Did you have a signature song or a song that you would ask the band to play for you, or a song that you loved to dance to more than any other?
No, I didn't really have any favorite specific songs, but the part of the dance that I loved the most was the floor work where they play the shiftatelli rhythm. Da 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 da. And Aurel wanted me to reinforce this, so I'll say again, the reason the floor work is so important is because that's when you're doing the abdominal stuff, which is depicting the childbirth act. So, but anyway, I really loved doing the floor work, and I think I did a lot of floor work, maybe more than other dancers. And in my classes, I always taught a lot of different abdominal movements. But Shadia also teaches a lot of abdominal movements. Yeah.
When I moved here to the area in 2003, that's when I was taking a lot of different belly dance classes. A lot of people. Najma, I took classes with. Morocco, I took classes with.
Oh, that's a different Morocco. It's not the one from New
It's
York.
not Morocco with the long hair, the one who danced in this area.
Yeah, it's a different Morocco. Yeah.
And then there was the lady who died recently who had the snakes on stage with her. Very little tiny petite. Aurel knows what I'm talking about. The one who
Dorothea?
died.
Dorothea?
Zabeth?
No, she was the older
Zabeth?
woman.
Zabeth died, and I
No,
guess.
not Zabeth. The other one, the young woman who died recently.
Oh, she's young. I don't know her.
Okay,
Oh, Sabrina.
Sabrina.
Oh, Sabrina. Oh.
Sabrina.
Oh dear.
So what I wanted to ask you was this. It seems like back then, 2003, 4, 5, 6, there was a lot of activity everywhere. Lots of
Interesting,
classes and
interesting.
workshops taken, all that. What do you think happened in the last 10 years or so that there's been such a downward turn in all of the dancing and the nightclub?
I don't know, because I really wasn't in touch with belly dancing after the 90s, and so I wasn't even aware of the rise that you're talking about. So I couldn't say why it rose up in the early 2000s.
There's always some place to go to see dancing.
Yeah,
Always a workshop.
well, I think I talked about some of the reasons that you don't have the musicians anymore. And also I think, like for example, a number of the Middle Eastern communities the older people would maintain their cultures, like the Armenians would have picnics, and I think the Arabic people would have events, and those people aren't maintaining their cultures either. So I think that's another reason, because they're a large part of the audience.
Right.
So I think that's probably, people are becoming, quote, Americanized, and they're losing touch with that culture in general.
So would you say that to resurrect some of that, our work would be involved in getting the musicians back playing? Is that where the start? Yes, Bill's nodding his head.
Well, that certainly would be important. I mean, you could dance to records or whatever they're calling these days, but it's a lot more fun to dance with musicians. But, you still also need the audience to come.
I think a lot of social media and streaming home entertainment like gets into that too, because people can be entertained at home.
That's right, yeah.
So
Yeah.
less people are going out for everything.
True, that's true, that's true, yeah.
What was your practice regimen like when you were in your professional era?
You won't believe it, I didn't have any.
Well, if you're dancing a lot, that's your practice.
Yeah, I was never into practicing. Like I told you, I was a natural dancer, and I had learned the moves, and I loved performing, and But if someone had workshops, I would go to the workshops, Yeah.
So does that mean a lot of your performances were improv? Like
Oh, they're always improv.
Really?
Oh, everyone did improv in those days. You had to, yeah, totally. That was one of the main thing about belly dancing. It was an improv performance. Yeah. That was why you didn't have to tell the musicians what pieces to play. You just told them what rhythms to play, and then you would improv. Oh, and then, you dance around, and then when you want them to change to the next piece, you'd turn your back to the audience, and then they'd know they'd change like to the slow or to the fast or whatever. No, it was all totally improv. Yeah, that was one of the amazing things. And that also made it powerful to perform with an audience, because it would be different depending on who was in the audience, what the vibes were of the audience that night. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. No, it was, when people do performances sometimes, they would do, stage rehearsals and stuff. And with the Goddess, in fact, when we did the Goddess dancing performances, we had choreographed performances and we rehearsed. Oh, especially if you're doing a group dance, you had to do choreographed. But when you did nightclub performances, they were always improv. That was part of the fun of it, to me anyway. Yeah, someone.
So I think I have one.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not a specific question, but I'm wondering, you keep mentioning the spirituality aspect
Yeah.
of the dancing and what that means for you. I'm just wondering if you might elaborate a little bit, or how did that manifest for you?
Well, the way I would put it is that in many cultures and many religions, there's a split between spirit and body. And I'm not going to name names. If you come from different backgrounds, you'll know if in the background you came from, you were told that spirit is different from body, or the body is dirty, or sexuality is dirty, and the spirit is wonderful, and we should suppress our bodies, or we should ignore our bodies, or we should punish our bodies. And to me, I felt that we're all one, and spirit infuses in body, and I liked the idea that this dance itself was connected to spiritual principles, such as giving birth and then depicting goddesses. Is that enough, or do you want me to say more?
Well, I guess I'm wondering that makes me think what aspects.
Of spirituality?
You said, oh gosh, I lost it.
Well, for me, it's about integrating spirit, mind, and body all together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have a question, just more of a comment. When you were talking about how other classes there might be like cattiness, or not everyone was
That's right.
included or invited, and you never experienced that. I had the same experience as you did. Like, I would have friends who started with other teachers or started in other studios, and they would talk about the cattiness or the drama, and I was like, there's no cattiness. I always call it like the ancient art bubble. I was always in the ancient art bubble, nice and safe and warm, and I never experienced any of the cattiness, and everyone was always celebrated, welcome, everyone's so supportive of each other, and so thank you, and thank you for the lineage that led us here into this beautiful, safe space.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I just want to say, Aurel, thank you so much for inviting me to share my stories. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here, and I'm so happy that you've learned something that you enjoy. I'm glad for you, and I wish you all the best in continuing doing what makes you happy and feel good and healthy and loving, and God bless you all, and Goddess bless you all, and what can I say? Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for coming.